ENQUIRIES. Before we go on with the normal stuff we talk about here in the beginning, I want to let you know that the membership site, which I've created for people who would like to contribute or donate or just kind of help me help you, that is now completed. So there are 3 membership levels. Level 1 is just the transcripts of every channel, past and future. Level 2 is the transcript plus the audio of every channel, past and future. And level 3 is the transcript, the audio and the video of every channel, past and future. And it's really cheap. The most expensive level is less than 2 quarters per day. So the link for that is below. So go below, have a click, have a look around, and there's a video where you can watch and I explain what it's all about, and hopefully that's something which appeals to you and you can become a contributor. So the idea is that I don't really like asking for donations of money. So what I've done instead is I've created a product, like a membership site, where you actually get something in return. If you have subscribed to me at Subscribestar in the past, thank you very much. I really love you for doing that. But you're probably not aware that you will only ever billed one time. And that's because Subscribestar has a rule where if you have less than 5 subscribers, nobody's rebilled. And I've never had more than 5 subscribers. So that means everybody who has subscribed in the past was only billed one time, and then that's it. So the Subscribestar never really, it didn't really do much. I sort of got 5 people paying $7 one time, a couple of one-off donations, but that's it. It has really been a bit of a flop, the whole Subscribestar idea. So I'm hoping that by putting it into my own system, then I don't have to meet some type of 5-person quota to get a rebilling going, and also I can now give you something in return. So it's taken me a long time to set it all up. It was much longer than I expected. I had to create like over 1,000 files to get this all put together. But now it's there, and what I'll do is once a month I will go in there and I'll add the transcripts and the audios and the videos for the months just past. So it'll always be up to date. Now on with our normal programming. I've just come out of a meditation in preparation for your channeling session, and we're all ready to go. All right, let's see what's there. Greetings, S, and thank you for this opportunity to bring some clarity to many of the questions which you have. There is a lot of information to be shared with you, so how about we begin with the first question you have brought to us, which is regarding your state of abundance or lack of it. Let us begin by first defining abundance. Abundance is the default state of the all. The all exists in a state of abundance in all ways at all times. And it is a relative perspective with which one may experience, as is common in the earth human field, to be in a state of lack. But it isn't lack as such, but it is just a different form of abundance. So it is an abundance of lack. It is an abundant manifestation of that which you do not want. So you manifest abundantly. It is the only way that manifestation can be done. So that question is, are you manifesting an abundance of that which you desire or that which you do not desire? And in this case, it can be seen that you are manifesting an abundance of lack, which is something that you do not want. And the reason that we begin this way is we wish to illustrate that it is well within your capacities to manifest an abundance of many different conditions. So, to have an abundance of material wealth, for example, then it is just a matter of redefining and redirecting this manifesting energy which you are already in possession of. Why is it that you are manifesting an abundance of lack? At the very root of this phenomenon in your life, we see that it is because of your beliefs and definitions, which is quite likely no surprise for you to hear. But let us add some layers of clarity so it becomes useful. We detect in you a very strong sense of there is nobility in scarcity, there is nobility in lack, there is nobility in poverty. And because you wish to be a good person, you wish to be a model type of human being in the way that you interact with the world, in the way that you treat others and so on. And this is admirable and very characteristic of beings that are going through the process of polarizing to the light in a very conscious way, wishing to be more virtuous because they understand that this is a reflection of who they are, and also it is their contribution to the greater journey of the all in the fulfillment of the divine purpose. However, there is the possibility of this tendency being sidetracked and manifesting in a way which is not necessary, but in alignment with subconscious beliefs, creating or manifesting a scenario which is unwanted. So we can see that from your childhood there were adults who you admired, and we feel that this perhaps was one of your parents, and this parent had their seasons of lack, their seasons of scarcity, and yet they were a good person, they were loving, they were caring, they were, in your eyes, in your child mind, the very model of a great person, a great human being, and you were proud to have them in your life in the function that they played. And this capacity they had to be a good person even in conditions of lack, and to rise above it in a sense, so they still maintained an air of admirability, an air of respectability, and even an air of nobility, has been hardwired into you in a very narrowed and unflexible way, that those are the conditions and the characteristics of being a good person from which you are modeling yourself. So, you wish to be the person of virtue, the person of righteous nobility, and we mean this in a way which is indicative of a connection with God. So you wish to be a being motivated by God, inspired by God, in communication, in connection, in relationship with God. And you have used a template from your childhood which is subconsciously manifesting this nobility of lack. It is your beliefs that are creating the thoughts and the energetic signature which is then manifesting your experience. So you are not creating your experience, you are manifesting your experience. Meaning that all of the possible permutations, the infinite permutations which could be the state of your life, all pre-exist. And what you are doing is you are emanating an energetic quality, an energetic signature, which is resonant with the with the life that you are experiencing. So this implies that the life conditions which you would prefer to experience in terms of having greater material abundance already pre-exist. It is not something that you need to create from nothing, because it already exists, and it is in the great pre-coded context of the matrix of the one. And if you can shift your energetic signature so that it becomes resonant with this more abundant, as in material abundance, then this will come into your perception. This will be the version of the infinite possibilities which you will perceive. So, why these beliefs? As we said, your childhood experiences, you associated these conditions together, where lack is at the basis of a good human being who you admire enough that you would be willing to template yourself on in the adult state. So, this is the same as saying that at the layer below the beliefs are the memories. So you have accumulated memories in these formative years when you were laying the hard-coded blueprint of who you would eventually become and who you are today. Then these memories, if they can be changed, if you can shift the definition you took from those memories, then the beliefs that were built on top of them would also shift. And this would allow you to change the status of your energetic signature and begin manifesting a reality which is different to that which you have been manifesting, yet still maintain a connection with the idea of being virtuous, of being spiritually righteous, of being noble in a spiritual sense. Going back to the early childhood moments when you were admiring this adult in your life and were making the connection that their admirability, their nobility was very much linked to their lack, to their humility because of the scarcity of resources. And redefine that moment. So, to catch the inner child, this very young version of you in the moments of going through this formulation, and interrupt that formulation and help them to understand that the admirability, the nobility, the righteousness, the virtuousness of this adult, which you admired enough to model yourself on, was in no way connected to their lack of material possession. They were mutually exclusive. This person was all of these qualities which you admired in spite of the lack. The lack had played no role. And so, this is an unnecessary part of the equation. It is entirely possible that this, or you could be a being of virtue, righteousness, nobility, admiralty, while in the possession of great material abundance. This can be further demonstrated in your life as you are living it now. You have a man living with you that would otherwise be homeless, and you have another that visits regularly who you also provide some source of money and food and so on to support them, as you do the one who is living with you. And then there are others who come by occasionally and you offer your assistance to them. This is indicative of your desire to be a good person, to be virtuous, to contribute, to do your part for the greater whole, to assist in the furtherment of humanity and so on. And not surprisingly, at the same time, it is creating lack in your own life. And it is lack of material wealth and abundance, and it is also a lack of privacy and time to oneself, and it is also a lack of freedom from the responsibility of others who are not your immediate family. We say that what you have done to this point is very admirable, and we salute you and give our love and thanks that you have taken it upon yourself to play the role that you have in the lives of these other people. However, if you are going to shift into a state of greater abundance, then you have to be at ease with living a little more selfishly, so that you can create the conditions where the accumulation of material abundance can actually take place, but do it without feeling guilt that you are no longer the virtuous, the noble, the admirable being, because you are choosing to keep resources for yourself that previously you were sharing with others who are in need. We would say this period that has involved you helping these individuals, it has served a purpose, and it has been instrumental in you having the charitable heart and finding your pathway to the one, and now getting well and truly on the journey to your ascension. But we see that if it continues, it is going to keep you in a form of holding pattern, and there is the very real possibility that some of the emotions that you experience will begin to transform and take on a quality which is a little resentful, and is beginning to feel like that you are being taken advantage of, and there is an inequality in the way that you give and the appreciation that you are receiving. If you continue to give without any expectations, then it is very natural that those who are receiving, in the absence of any expectation, will eventually begin to take it for granted. This is not to say that there is anything at fault with these other people, but it is really just a human tendency that this will eventually become the norm, and they will come to you in an expectation that you will give, and their calculation will not include whether or not by them taking from you diminishes your ability to give to yourself. And your struggles, when you start to have a condition which is not so different or less different to the conditions they have been coming to you with, and yet you will feel that you are not receiving any recognition from them of the sacrifice that you make. You are not receiving any understanding and willingness to perhaps take a little less, so that you are not as burdened by them as you are. And if this condition is allowed to continue, then eventually it will become an emotionality which is unattractive, in that, or should we say, an ugly emotionality that will leave you feeling a twinge of guilt that you are not able to maintain that humility, that nobility which you associate with this templated version of being a good and righteous human being. So, this long-winded explanation that we're giving is we're building you up, because we want to deliver this very softly. We're building this up to say that we feel perhaps it's time to change the conditions of these relationships that you have, where you are continuously being charitable to these other people who are continuously receiving your charity. We are not saying to immediately cut them off, but what we are saying instead is to place some expectations which have as the end point them transitioning to some form of greater self-responsibility, where you are burdened less and they are responsible more. Ultimately, if you are motivated by a desire to help, then this desire to be effective in the way that it creates growth, then it must in a way be pushing those that you help to grow, rather than just be in a holding pattern, a static continuation of taking and returning to take more and returning to take more, with no growth in self-responsibility. So, we suggest start formulating some ideas of how you can help these individuals transition into a state of greater responsibility, or you have a lesser responsibility. So you can begin focusing more on yourself and begin living a paradigm which you manifest from a place of greater selfishness. And we don't mean selfishness in the form of you're being a bad person, but really that you start giving to yourself in a way which is commensurate with what you deserve, so that you don't continue to maintain these conditions of an abundance of lack, but instead begin to transform it into an abundance of material wealth and the lifestyle that you prefer to experience. So, this is going to be easier when you begin by redefining those memories of when you're a child, and help this child within you to appreciate that it is entirely possible and even preferable to be materially abundant and simultaneously virtuous, noble, admirable, a good human being, a wonderful human being, an amazing human being, and in the possession of all of the material wealth and abundance that one needs to be comfortable, to be fulfilled, to not have any continuing experiences of, I don't have enough for things that I desire to have in my life. And then the beliefs can change, and then this forward action, which we are recommending to you, will be easier to perform, because you'll be able to push these individuals into a state of greater responsibility without feeling the guilt that you are robbing yourself of your nobility, of your virtue, of your admirability. Regarding your preparation for ascension, we see that you have transformed in a way from this early period, perhaps of 10, 15 years ago. You were very different to who you have become. And you were at that time nowhere near in any type of definitions in a state of preparedness for the ascension. However, your higher self was successful in guiding and intuitively guiding you to manifest conditions which hit you in the face with a reality that was sufficient to bring about this dramatic energetic shift, such that you began to redefine what is important in life, and you began to realize that there is something very powerful and something very meaningful in dedicating oneself to a greater journey. And this greater journey is central in the way that you have defined it. It is centrally related to your Creator, to God. And this shift has well and truly placed you on the path. And we feel that you have brought yourself in front of this channeling that is occurring right now, because you are ready to shift again, to take it to the next level. And this is what your higher self is calling to you for. And your higher self would like to see you be more centrally focused and to give less of yourself to the tangible reality around you, and instead give to yourself with a type of energetic focus that is about developing the love within oneself and the love for oneself. So, your higher self is literally saying to us now, they want you to come more into a relationship with the self where you are praising yourself. So you are praising the divine within self. And this is the new way that your higher self wishes you to connect with the One, with your God, your Creator. And thereby with it also. Because in a way, your higher self is God's representative within you. And so for you to connect to your God within the being which you are is to connect with the higher self. And this is done through self-love, through self-praise. In a way to pray to oneself. But having a definition of self that is the higher self and by extension the one. So it is praying to the God within. Rather than having a focus which is so externalized. So, this externalized focus that you've had has been instrumental, has been important, has played its role. But you have taken up the slack, so to speak, and you are now at a place where there is nothing more to be, in an immediate sense, to be gained from this externalization of your praise and your desire to help those on the outside of you. Now it is time to turn that gaze inwards and start forming or strengthening the relationship to the God within rather than the God without, the God of the outer world, the God that you see in other individuals, the God that you see as you walk about the street. To take you to the next level in preparation for the ascension, then it is important that you begin to elevate your own vibration. And this is going to require that some of this externalized focus becomes internalized so that it creates a resonance with the inner God. And this inner God, as it begins to take on the focus, the loving focus of yourself, will begin to vibrate at increasing frequencies, which will prepare you in a calibrating sense with the energetics of the ascension. And again, this ties back in to the sensibility of helping those that you are assisting to transition to a state of greater self-responsibility. And if you are able to strike the chord of the inner God, and so you make this resonant vibration, then it is going to be, you are going to be more powerful in formulating and strategizing the ways in which you are going to help those people who you are being responsible for to move to a state of greater self-responsibility themselves. So they experience growth and their relationship with you transforms from something which is just about the reception of resources and becomes something entirely different, where it is now about their own triumph over themselves, over their conditions, over their limitations, over their struggles with their own beliefs about what is possible for them. So, just one more clarification regarding this self-praise concept. And this is something which is coming from your higher self. Your higher self has asked that we include this just so it brings a little greater understanding of what the concept they're trying to, your higher self is trying to get you to grasp. We keep saying where, they want, and that's because this is a combination feed we're getting from your higher self and your guides. So, this concept of self-praise isn't about praising the being that you see in the mirror. It is not about praising that being, the temporary avatar. It's about praising the divine within, the higher self aspect, which is a proxy and an extension of the One. Praising that, praising your divinity. And thereby activating this dormancy which is within you, which is within all beings. But particularly in the earth human field, this inner spark is mostly in a state of dormancy and exists just as a latent capacity, a latent potential. And for many, it will never be activated. And they will go their entire lives without ever having reached that point. However, for you, you are ready, you are poised to make this energetic shift. And by sparking, by igniting this inner divinity, you will begin to vibrate at an entirely different frequency. And the glow, if you are able to maintain it and to direct it and to prevent your mind from associating with guilt or trying to quell it with doubt, then you will experience shifts in many different facets of your life, including your material abundance and also your relationships, meaning your partner relationships. So you were saying that it has been several years since you have been with a woman, had a woman in your life, and you felt it created a space which was healthy for you to grow, and we would agree with that. But this period is coming to an end, and in many different ways. Everything is lining up to conclude this chapter. And everything that we have been speaking about is this wrapping up of this chapter of the last few years, such that the new can begin. And part of this is going to be setting yourself up for new relationships. But this is something you'll have to take a proactive approach about. So rather than just waiting for the right person to appear in your life, we would say to start making these shifts. Make these shifts in your immediate living conditions, and also make a shift in your energetic state so that you begin to live more selfishly, where you praise the divinity within. And then be more proactive in finding the person who is going to be your next partner. Go into environments where you have an opportunity to shine this new frequency of self-love, such that it can be seen by a larger audience. And you will find that women will begin to come into your vicinity who feel a vibratory match with your own glow. And then it will be up to you to make your selection from the women that are sensing their own energetic compatibility with you. When you make this selection, it is important that you make a selection on the basis of the new paradigm of who you are becoming, rather than on the old paradigm of who you were. The tendency will be, because you are a man and you are more logical than women, this is typical presentation of men and women on your planet, is that men are more logical, women are more emotional. And so when you are making your calculation, you will have a tendency to use the logistics of the past, because that is your data set. However, this puts you at risk of choosing a partner that is more suited to who you were rather than who you are becoming. So, when you make your selection, be a little bit more intuitive and, to a degree, a little more emotional about it. And just be mindful that you aren't choosing a partner on the basis of the logistics of the data set you have accumulated until this point in your life. So we would say, make the decision mostly by intuition. So, at least the early investigations of the potential of a relationship with someone who comes into your vicinity. So, the way this would manifest is, if you're in a situation where you have met someone and you have a feeling for them, you have a feeling that there's some type of chemistry, there's some type of energy with this person, but the logistics are saying to you, no, this is no good. This is no good. Based on the experiences you've had in the past, this is probably not a good idea. We are saying, put that logistic way of thinking to one side and instead go with the intuition. Because the intuition is coming from the higher self perspective. And it is more in tune and more in calibration with the new paradigmal way that you are existing as you incrementally increase your vibratory presence, your energetic status, as you make the ascent towards the ascension preparation. You asked us if you had been a knight in the past. We don't see that you were a knight, but we see that you did have a life in that period. And it appears to us that you were a monk in a monastery. So perhaps it could be said that you were a friar, and it was a very austere lifestyle. So there was very little that one had for themselves. Your brotherhood was about service to others, service to community, and so there was a great deal of sacrifice. But this was a time when humanity was much more in the darkness, much more connected to the light. And so while there was a desire to live righteously and to sacrifice, it was much more difficult to do then than it is to do now, because humanity has grown and it has increased its vibration, and so the qualities of the darkness have less presence in the modern human than they did in the past. There is a much greater propensity and ease for the modern human to be vibrating with the qualities of the light. So while your brotherhood did live in austere conditions, and there was a lot of sacrifice, and there was an expectation that you would work hard and be in the fields and do all the things that are required to create sustenance, but then much of that sustenance was given away, and one was left even being hungry, despite giving so much of themselves to create more than enough sustenance for themselves and their brothers. So there were many within the order who were resentful of being forced to live under those conditions, and even had regret that they had made the decision to join the brotherhood, not fully understanding what it would entail, but joining because they could see that the people of their own family had a great reverence and respect of the nobility of the monk brotherhood, of the friars. And so, wishing to be part of that, you joined. And then eventually it wore on you that you were living in these conditions which you didn't fully understand, and your life was becoming a monotony. And there were others who shared those feelings with you. But it was a very difficult thing to leave the brotherhood, to exit the monastery, because there was the shame associated with walking away, turning your back. And so it would be difficult for one to go back to their own community or to go back to their own family, having turned their back on the brotherhood and a lifelong commitment which is taken as a form of oath in public to God and service to God. Eventually, you came to terms. You didn't leave the brotherhood. You stayed with this brotherhood. But there was a period of perhaps 10, 15 years where it was very difficult for you, and you resented the conditions that you lived in, and you resented yourself, that you had trapped yourself in this particular type of lifestyle. However, the wisdom of the older monks eventually began to ring true, because they themselves had gone through this same period where they had wondered why they had forsaken their own lives by taking this spiritual journey of which the only end was the end of their lives. But they had said to you that one day you will be completely in love with the lifestyle that you live and the decisions that you made to be of service to God by being of service to the community. And while many will fall away, many who join in the younger ranks will go to this period where it's very difficult, and then they will give up and they will exit and go back to live out the years of their life in shame at having failed the brotherhood. But you didn't. You stayed with it. And eventually you became a senior monk that was revered, and you heard yourself give the same advice to young men who were struggling with their decision to join the brotherhood, just as you had heard it all of those years before. And so, this is part of the reason why now in your current life, you feel a desire and a need to be giving to men who are in greater need than yourself. Why you have formed your own brotherhood of the needy. Because this is an echo of your past. This is who you have been before. So, again, this reiterates why we say it is appropriate to conclude this period of your life or to reshape it in some way. Because you spent an entire lifetime in service to those who needed help. And so you have given of yourself more than most beings ever will. So it is okay to turn the focus inwards and find the glory of God, of your Creator, within self. Let us finish in this way. S, you are a very good human being. You have a huge heart and a willingness to self-sacrifice to a fault, such that those you can see that have less than you can receive. We admire you for that, and we give our love and gratitude that you assist these individuations of the one in the way that you do. But it is also possible to give in even more profound ways by focusing to a greater degree on oneself. Because the ultimate contribution to the divine purpose is energetic. And the greatest energy that one can give to this divine purpose is the energy to oneself. By focusing on the inner divine, such that it begins to grow and glow with a vibratory potency that sends ripples across all of existence and sets you up to be compatible with the metaphysics of ascension. So, begin by helping the inner child understand that lack isn't a necessary ingredient to nobility, to righteousness, to virtue, to admirability. And this will, in a way, set you free to start creating these shifts in your life so you can live in a new paradigmal way. The very central focus being the God within. So you can expand and grow into the next version of you. And then in a very cascading way. The different facets of your life which you would like to be transformed will be given the space to transform. But there has to be a proactive component. Just sitting back and hoping that these changes occur is a limitation in the way that you live your life. So, make the shift, live energetically different, and then boldly step into your life and start creating the opportunities for the type of life that you want to live. Thank you, and we love you.